So, you love South African music, right? The beat, the rhythm, the way it just gets into your soul. We have some of the most talented artists in the world, no doubt. But what happens when the music stops? What happens when the lights go down and the headlines tell a different story? A story that isn't about platinum records or sold-out concerts, but about something much, much darker. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to talk about the side of the industry that the record labels don't want you to see. The stories that get buried under layers of PR spin and flashy music videos. We're about to dive deep into the untold scandals of some of South Africa's biggest musical names. These aren't just rumors whispered in back alleys. We're talking about documented allegations, court cases, and public controversies that have rocked the nation. This isn't about gossip, it's about accountability. It's about looking at the people we put on pedestals and asking some very tough questions. The truth, as they say, is often stranger, and in this case, more disturbing than fiction. Prepare yourselves, because some of the names on this list will surprise you. Some might even anger you. These are artists whose songs you've probably danced to, whose lyrics you've sung along to in your car. But behind the celebrity facade lies a trail of corruption, controversy, and chaos that needs to be exposed, so buckle up. We're about to face the music, and it's not going to be pretty. Stay with us as we uncover the top 10 most corrupt musicians in South Africa. Let's start with a name that exploded onto the scene like a supernova. Babes Wodumo. The Gqom queen. When Wololo dropped, you couldn't go anywhere in South Africa without hearing it. It was the national anthem of every party, every taxi ride, every braai. She was vibrant, she was talented, and she had the entire country in the palm of her hand. You saw the videos, the dance moves, the energy. It felt like we were witnessing the birth of a legend, a true South African superstar taking over the world. But then, the story started to change. The music, which was once so loud, began to be drowned out by the noise of controversy. Whispers turned into shouts, and the headlines shifted from her chart-topping hits to her chaotic personal life and, more troublingly, her finances. People started asking questions. Where was all the money going? For an artist who was so booked and busy, who was the face of major campaigns, the numbers just didn't seem to add up. The dream started to look more like a nightmare. Allegations of financial mismanagement began to swirl, and they weren't just coming from tabloids. We heard stories from promoters about double bookings and no shows. Events where fans paid to see their queen, only to be left disappointed. There were public spats with her record label, accusations flying back and forth about who controlled the purse strings. It became a tangled web, with Babes often at the center, appearing to be a victim of exploitation one minute and a willing participant in the chaos the next. The situation was complex, a messy mix of personal relationships and professional contracts. Her life became a public spectacle, documented on reality TV and social media for all to see. We saw the fights, the reconciliations, the emotional breakdowns, and through it all, the question of her finances loomed large. Was she a savvy businesswoman in control of her empire, or was her kingdom crumbling from within due to mismanagement and exploitation? It was a tragic tale of immense talent caught in a whirlwind of controversy. The story of Babes Wodumo serves as a cautionary tale. It shows how quickly a star can rise, and how easily their light can be dimmed, not by a lack of talent, but by the chaos that can surround it. The financial disputes and public dramas have, for many, overshadowed the brilliant artist who once had us all chanting Wololo. The Gqom queen's reign has been anything but a fairy tale, leaving fans to wonder what could have been if things had been handled differently. Now let's talk about a true OG, a pioneer of the Kwaito movement, Arthur Mafokate. This man is a legend. You can't talk about the history of South African pop music without mentioning his name. From Kafir to Oyi Oyi, he created anthems that defined a generation. He wasn't just a musician. He was a producer, a record label owner, a kingmaker. He built an empire, 999 Music, and launched the careers of so many artists we came to love. He was the man with the Midas touch. For years, Arthur was seen as the godfather of the industry. He had the power, the influence, and the track record. If you wanted to make it in the music world, you wanted to be on his good side. He was a businessman, a shrewd one at that. He understood the game better than anyone. But as the years went on, the shine on his crown began to tarnish. The headlines started to shift from his musical genius to his legal troubles, and the accusations were serious. The most damaging allegations involved the misuse of public funds. Specifically, funds from the National Arts Council. We're talking about millions of rands meant to support struggling artists during the COVID-19 pandemic, a time of unprecedented crisis for the creative industry. Reports emerged that organizations linked to Mafokate received huge sums of this relief funding, while countless other artists got nothing. The very artists he was supposed to be uplifting were left out in the cold. The case went to the Special Investigating Unit, and it became a massive scandal. The man who had built his name on creating opportunities for artists was now accused of taking opportunities away from them. It was a spectacular fall from grace. The public outcry was immense. How could a legend, a man with so much already, allegedly divert funds meant for those who had nothing? The Courtroom became his new stage, and the charges were his new hit single, playing on a loop in the news cycle. This wasn't his only legal battle, of course. Over the years, he faced other serious accusations, including assault charges, which further damaged his public image. The combination of these legal woes painted a picture of a man whose legacy was becoming increasingly complicated. The Kwaito king, the hero of a generation, was now seen by many as a symbol of greed and corruption. A powerful figure who allegedly used his influence not to build up the industry, but to enrich himself at the expense of others. Remember Pitch Black Afro? Of course you do. Nto Fontofo. The man with the giant afro and the infectious, playful rhymes. He was a character, a one-of-a-kind artist who burst onto the scene and captured our hearts. In the early 2000s, he was everywhere. His style was unique, his energy was contagious, and his music was pure fun. He was the guy you couldn't help but smile at, the jester of the South African hip-hop court. He sold hundreds of thousands of albums, a massive achievement at the time. He was on top of the world. He had the fame, the success, and a persona that was instantly recognizable. Pitch Black Afro, real name Thulani Nkobo, was more than just a rapper, he was a brand. The afro wasn't just hair, it was a logo. For a moment, it seemed like his star would never fade. He was a breath of fresh air in an industry that sometimes took itself too seriously. He reminded us that music could and should be entertaining. But then the music faded, and the headlines took a dark, tragic turn. The fun-loving character we saw on our screens was replaced by the image of a man in crisis. The years following his peak were marked by a noticeable decline, with fewer hits and public appearances. Then, in 2019, the shocking news broke. Pitch Black Afro was arrested, and the charge was the most serious one imaginable. He was charged with the murder of his fiancée, Catherine Trisha Modisane. The entire country was stunned. The story that unfolded in the courtroom was a gut-wrenching tale of a relationship plagued by violence. The details were grim, painting a picture that was a world away from the happy-go-lucky rapper we thought we knew. The jester's mask had been ripped off, revealing a tragedy of immense proportions. It was no longer about music or fame, it was about life and death. In 2020, he was convicted of culpable homicide and sentenced to prison. The verdict marked the final tragic end to his career and public life. The name Pitch Black Afro, once associated with platinum albums and catchy hooks, was now forever linked to a brutal crime. His story is a chilling reminder of how the person we see in the spotlight can be vastly different from the person behind closed doors, and how quickly a celebrated career can unravel into a devastating and criminal tragedy. Let's talk about another Kwaito star whose career came to a screeching halt: Brix. For those who remember, Cypho Brix and Lovu was a force. With hits like Sweetie My Baby, he was a prominent voice in the later wave of Kwaito. He had that raw, street-certified sound. He wasn't just making party tracks, his music often had a grittier edge, reflecting the realities of township life. He collaborated with the biggest names, from DJ Cleo to Mafika Zolo. He was respected, he had a solid career, a loyal fan base, and a reputation as a talented artist. He was part of the fabric of the South African music scene for years. When a Brix track came on, you knew it. He had a signature style, and for a long time, his career seemed stable. He was consistently releasing music, performing at shows, and maintaining his status as a household name in the Kwaito world. He was, by all accounts, a success story, but his story took a dark and irreversible turn. In 2013, a shocking allegation surfaced. Brix was accused of raping a teenage relative. The news sent shockwaves through the industry and the public. The accusation was horrifying, and it immediately cast a dark shadow over his entire career. The legal process was long and arduous, playing out in the public eye for years. For his accuser, it was an unimaginable ordeal. Throughout the trial, the public was divided. Some fans stood by him, clinging to the principle of innocence until proven guilty. Others were horrified, distancing themselves from the artist and his music. The case dragged on, filled with delays and legal maneuvering. But finally, in 2017, a verdict was reached. Brix was found guilty of rape and sentenced to 15 years in prison. The judgment was unequivocal. The conviction was the final nail in the coffin of his career. Radio stations stopped playing his music. Promoters wouldn't book him. His name became synonymous not with Kwaito but with his heinous crime. The public reaction was strong, with many celebrating the verdict as a victory for justice and a clear message that no one, no matter how famous, is above the law. The story of Brix is not one of financial corruption, but of a moral and criminal failing so profound that it erased his musical legacy entirely. Gqom, where do you even begin? Molimo Gqom Marohanya was the epitome of the fast life. He was a rapper who embraced the flashy, flamboyant side of hip-hop. His hit song Nadikokale was, ironically, a gospel-infused plea for guidance, and it was massive. It won awards, topped charts, and made him one of the most visible artists in the country. He had the cars, the fame, the swagger. He was living the dream, or so it seemed. He was a controversial figure from the start, known for his confrontational style and his reality TV presence. He never shied away from the spotlight, whether it was for his music or his personal drama. He was a product of the modern celebrity era, where fame is fueled by both talent and notoriety. For a while, he managed to balance the two, staying relevant and successful, despite the occasional negative headline. He was, for better or worse, a superstar. Then came March 8, 2010. A day that will live in infamy in South Africa. Gqom and a friend were allegedly drag racing on a public road in Soweto. They lost control of their cars and plowed into a group of schoolchildren. The aftermath was horrific. 4 children were killed, and 2 others were left with permanent, life-altering brain damage. The nation was plunged into a state of shock and mourning. The flashy rapper's fast life had led to unimaginable tragedy. The court case that followed was one of the most high-profile trials in recent South African history. The details that emerged were damning, with witnesses testifying to the rapper's reckless behavior, driving under the influence of a cocktail of drugs. In 2012, Gqom and his co-accused were found guilty on 4 counts of murder and 2 of attempted murder, among other charges. They were sentenced to 25 years in prison. The verdict was a landmark moment. He was eventually released on parole in 2017 after his murder conviction was overturned and converted to culpable homicide. He has since tried to resurrect his career, most notably as the host of the controversial reality show Uyajola 99. But the shadow of that tragic day will follow him forever. For many South Africans, his name will never be separated from the lives that were lost. His story is a brutal lesson in the deadly consequences of arrogance, recklessness, and the corrupting influence of a celebrity lifestyle lived without limits. If we're talking about Babes Wodumo, we have to talk about the man who was almost always by her side, Mandla Mampintsha Mafumulo. Before he was known primarily for his tumultuous relationship with Babes, Mampintsha was a legend in his own right. He was a founding member of the iconic Kwaito group, Big Nuz. Their songs were massive hits, anthems that defined the Durban Kwaito sound. He was a respected artist and producer, a heavyweight in the industry. He was the man behind West Inc. Records, the label that signed Babes Wodumo and launched her into superstardom. In the beginning, they were seen as a power couple, the king and queen of Gqom. He was the experienced producer, she was the electrifying new talent. Together, they were unstoppable. They created a sound, a movement, and a brand that took South Africa by storm. He was instrumental in her success, no one can deny that. However, the relationship soon became the subject of intense public scrutiny. The power dynamic was always a topic of discussion. He was older, more experienced, and her boss. Allegations of control and manipulation began to surface long before things turned publicly violent. There were whispers of financial exploitation, with many questioning whether Babes was truly getting her fair share of the massive profits they were generating. The fairy tale was starting to show some serious cracks. The situation exploded in 2019 when Babes, in a brave and terrifying moment, broadcast a live video on Instagram showing Mampincha physically assaulting her. The nation watched in horror. It was no longer a rumor or an allegation. It was undeniable proof. The incident led to his arrest and a national outcry against gender-based violence. He was charged with assault, and though he was later released on bail, his public image was shattered beyond repair. Mampincha, who passed away in late 2022, remained a deeply controversial figure until the end. His career became defined not by his musical contributions with Big Nuz, but by the cloud of abuse, control, and financial controversy that surrounded his relationship with Babes Wodumo. He became a symbol of the dark side of the industry, where power dynamics can lead to exploitation and violence, forever tainting a legacy that was once built on celebrated music. Kelly Khumalo. There is just, honestly, no name in South African entertainment that elicits a stronger, more immediate reaction. She is, without question, one of the most gifted vocalists of her generation. From her early days as a gospel singer, to her evolution into a pop and Afro-soul powerhouse, her talent is, well, undeniable. She has this commanding stage presence, a powerful voice, and a string of hits that have made her a household name. She is a true diva, in every sense of the word. She has built a career on resilience, branding herself as a survivor who has overcome immense public scrutiny and personal hardship. Her reality show, Life with Kelly Khumalo, gives viewers a curated glimpse into her world, showcasing her as a devoted mother and a hard-working artist navigating the pressures of fame. She has cultivated an image of strength and defiance, a woman who just will not be broken by the court of public opinion. But there is a dark cloud that has hung over her for nearly a decade, a cloud that refuses to dissipate. That cloud is the unsolved murder of her then-boyfriend, Bafana Captain Senzo Mayiwa. He was shot and killed in her mother's home in Vosloorus on October 26, 2014. Kelly Khumalo was one of the people present in the house that night. What exactly happened in that room remains one of South Africa's most painful and enduring mysteries. The initial story was that it was a robbery gone wrong, but as the years have passed, that narrative has been scrutinized, questioned, and all but dismantled in the public eye and, more recently, in court. The ongoing trial of 5 men accused of the murder has been a media circus, and Kelly's name has been mentioned repeatedly. Allegations and theories have flown, connecting her and others in the house to the crime in ways that contradict the original story. She has been accused of knowing more than she has let on, of being part of a cover-up. To be clear, Kelly Khumalo has never been charged with any crime related to the murder. She has consistently maintained her innocence and has stated that she too wants justice for Senzo. However, the endless speculation, the conflicting testimonies from the trial, and her presence at the heart of the mystery have, well, irrevocably corrupted her public image. For millions of South Africans, her incredible talent will forever be overshadowed by the unanswered questions of that fateful night. Dr. Malinga is, honestly, an entertainer through and through. You know him for the high kicks, those wild outfits, and of course the incredibly catchy high-energy music. Songs like Akuleleki and Via Orlando, they're just guaranteed to get any party started. But he's not just a singer, he's really a personality. His brand is all about fun, celebration, and, well, living your best life. He always projected this image of success and flamboyant wealth, the guy who is always winning. For years, Dr. Malinga, whose real name is Goodwill Malinga, just seemed to be living the life he sang about. He was booked for shows all over the country, he had endorsement deals, and he often posted pictures of his expensive cars and his home on social media. He was the embodiment of making it, a successful independent artist who built his own empire, Lingus Entertainment. He was an inspiration to many, proof that you could be your own boss and succeed. But, in 2022, that carefully constructed image came crashing down in a very public and, honestly, very painful way. In an emotional interview on a popular podcast, a tearful Dr. Malinga revealed that he was in deep financial trouble. He broke down as he explained that the South African Revenue Service, or SARS, had repossessed and auctioned off his furniture and assets to pay off a massive tax debt. The man of the high life was suddenly facing rock bottom. The interview went viral, It was just a shocking moment of vulnerability from a celebrity who had always projected nothing but confidence and success. He explained how the COVID-19 pandemic had decimated his income, since live performances, his main source of revenue, had completely dried up. He admitted to poor financial management, saying he just wasn't prepared for such a disaster and that his tax affairs were not in order. The Via Orlando lifestyle had, well, hit a dead end. While many sympathized with his plight, seeing it as a relatable story of the pandemic's economic devastation, it was also a story of financial mismanagement. It exposed the fragile reality behind all those flashy social media posts. His public plea for help was a humbling fall from grace, not a scandal of criminal intent, but of financial irresponsibility. It served as a stark warning that the appearance of wealth in the entertainment industry can often be a house of cards, ready to collapse at any moment. Zodwa Wabantu is, well, not a musician in the traditional sense, but her brand is so intertwined with the music scene that she's just an undeniable part of it. She's a socialite, a dancer, and above all, a professional provocateur. She built her entire career on controversy. Her signature move? Appearing at events without wearing any underwear, a fact she proudly proclaims. She's the queen of shocking the public, and she's turned it into a very lucrative business. She rose to fame by dancing at clubs and events, especially in Durban's nightlife scene, and her risque style quickly got people talking. She was a marketing genius, honestly, understanding that in the age of social media, outrage generates clicks, and clicks generate cash. She was unapologetically herself, refusing to conform to society's expectations of how a woman should dress or behave. She monetized her notoriety, securing booking fees that rivaled those of major musicians, just for appearing and dancing at a venue. But her brand of controversy often crosses the line from provocative to, well, problematic. Her public statements have frequently landed her in hot water. She has made comments about gay people that were widely condemned as homophobic, leading to her being banned from performing in several countries. She's bragged about her preference for younger men, whom she calls Ben 10s, in a way that many find predatory and inappropriate. Her entire brand is a tightrope walk over the line of public decency. Legally, she's also had her share of issues. She's been involved in public altercations, and has had to answer to authorities for flouting lockdown regulations during the pandemic. Her on-stage antics, which sometimes involve inappropriate contact with audience members, constantly flirt with legal trouble. She seems to thrive on the chaos, using every scandal as another opportunity to promote her brand and stay in the headlines. It's a cynical but, honestly, effective strategy. Zodwa represents a different kind of corruption, a corruption of social norms for profit. She deliberately courts controversy, often at the expense of marginalized communities or public health standards, because she knows it keeps her relevant. While some see her as a symbol of female empowerment and sexual liberation, others see a deeply cynical opportunist who profits from shock value, regardless of the social cost. Her career is a testament to the idea that in modern celebrity culture, fame doesn't require talent, just a willingness to do or say anything for attention. Siava. Now here's an artist who is really beloved. Jabulani Hadebe, known as Siava, is more than just a musician. He's a storyteller, a poet. His music blends Afro soul, hip-hop, and Maskandi into a unique sound that he calls African trap. His lyrics are deep, often exploring themes of love, struggle, and Zulu culture. He won a BET award. He was featured on the Black Panther soundtrack. He is, by all measures, one of our most celebrated and critically acclaimed musical exports. His image is that of a humble, traditional man from the rural hills of KwaZulu-Natal. He speaks with a quiet dignity, and his music resonates with authenticity. He represents a kind of masculinity that is rooted in culture and respect. Fans don't just like his music, they connect with him on a deeper level. They see him as a voice for the people, an artist who has not forgotten where he comes from. He was, for many, a source of national pride. Then, in late 2019, his carefully crafted image was shattered. His ex-girlfriend, the singer Lady Zamar, took to social media to detail years of alleged emotional and sexual abuse she endured while they were in a secret relationship. The allegations were shocking and deeply disturbing, painting a picture of Siava that was the complete opposite of his public persona. She later opened a case of rape against him with the police. The fallout was immediate and severe. Siava was dropped from festival lineups. His collaborations were put on hold. He was effectively cancelled by a large segment of the public and the industry before any legal process had truly played out. He vehemently denied the allegations, releasing his own statements and a song to tell his side of the story. The public was fiercely divided, with he said, she said arguments dominating social media for months. Ultimately, the National Prosecuting Authority, or NPA, declined to prosecute the rape case, citing a lack of evidence. While this was a legal vindication for Siava, the damage to his reputation was immense and for many, permanent. The allegation, even without a conviction, has left an indelible stain on his legacy. The case highlights the complex and painful intersection of public opinion, legal due process, and the powerful impact of an accusation in the digital age, forever altering the way many people hear his beautiful poetic music. So there you have it. 10 artists, 10 stories of scandal, corruption, and controversy that lie beneath the surface of the South African music industry. From financial ruin and criminal convictions to the dark clouds of unresolved allegations, these stories paint a complex and, honestly, often disturbing picture. It forces us to ask ourselves a difficult question: can we, and should we, separate the art from the artist? It's easy to get lost in a catchy beat or a powerful voice, but the people behind the music are just that, people. And they are fallible, capable of making terrible mistakes, and in some cases, committing horrific acts. This isn't about canceling everyone or, deriving pleasure from their downfall. It's about awareness. It's a warning to be cautious about the pedestals we build for our celebrities. Fame is not a shield against accountability, and a platinum record is not a license for corruption or harm. We, as the public, and as consumers of their art, have a right to know who we are supporting. We have a right to hold power to account, whether that power is in parliament or on a concert stage. The music industry, like any other, needs transparency and integrity. What are your thoughts on these stories? Were you shocked by any of the names on this list? Who did we miss? Let us know in the comments below. The conversation doesn't end here. If you believe in holding power accountable and want to see more exposés like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and remember to always question what you see in the spotlight.